It's not easy now, and it's never gonna be easier. Your dreams sometimes do have a window, and that window is not forever. Comparison can be the thief of joy. It can also be the seed of possibility. What is the smallest goal you can make that puts you one step in that direction? Every idea is a bad idea until it's been tested in the marketplace. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. If you're not willing to invest in your mind for at least 15 minutes every day, it's gonna atrophy. If I'm not willing to sacrifice something to make this happen, then I just don't really want it.
Today's guest is Daniel Baarns, entrepreneur, founder of Baarns Detailing, and the author of Just Start, a book about overcoming the internal battles that quietly kill dreams before they ever begin.
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Corey. This is awesome to be here.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to have you. And Daniel, you do a lot more than what I just introduced you as. So can you introduce for the audience, what do you do and what are you about?
Yeah, so my name is Daniel Baarns, and I'm an author and speaker and an entrepreneur. And my book actually went #1 in a category on Amazon, as well as I've got a newsletter with over 100 newsletters that have gone out, and executives from both Apple and Intel read those. And really the pain that I see is so many young men have great dreams and ideas that they want to do, and so often lack the courage and the willingness to take that first step. And I wrote this book because that was me. I know what that's like. And my aim is to be the person, not someday, but today, who is proof that action can create something. And really, because I believe if more young men were to start building the life of their dreams in their 20s and not push it off until someday, that would impact not just them, but families, communities, and the world would just be a much healthier and better place if we started today.
Yeah, that's amazing. If they just started today. And I think that's kind of what your book kind of alludes to is just start. I mean, and that's what it's titled. And we're going to get into it. So I'm looking forward to it. But Daniel, before we begin, we do a segment where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest. What is your why? And what is it about your why that matters so much?
I think the shortest way to say that is people over everything. Investing in other people is the thing that provides the most life.
Maybe this is why people matter so much.
I don't know why, but I was incredibly good at taking negative, painful experiences and turning them around super fast, like almost real time, and going, I do not have to do this to someone else. Instead, I'm going to go, what do I wish they would have done? And I'm going to do exactly that, not what was done to me. As simple as when I was the one who could sit in the front seat, I would let my younger sister sit in the front seat because I knew what it would have meant to me had someone been that for me.
Pain either turns people into heroes or villains. And for the hero, they see that pain and they want no one else to ever experience that pain again. So they go in and they do everything they can to give the people those opportunities to flourish, to never experience what they experienced. Yeah. Versus the villain takes that same pain and says, because the world hurt me, I'm going to hurt the world back. And then they replicate it.
I pray that we would be people that live by faith, are known by love, and are voices of hope, that we would dream great dreams and have the courage to pursue them. And I heard that prayer inside of a podcast during COVID, and then I started sharing it with people. And in a lot of ways, this book is an outflow of that, because without that prayer and that moment, that then leads me to go and live in Ecuador for 77 days. While I'm there is where the book and the idea to write a book before the age of 35 is really born.
What is the biggest lie that holds people back?
One of them is someday. The other is later. And so if you've identified a dream or something that you want, if you're telling yourself, hey, when I'm older, it will be easier. I think you and I both know that usually life gets a little bit harder, a little bit more complicated. The responsibilities increase. What is expected of us actually becomes more challenging. The faster I have gotten at going, I have this idea. How do I decrease the amount of friction that I can put in my life to go from idea to output? Like that has been a big, even current focus. And so for me, I want the time between I have this idea to it lives, to be as close to zero as possible.
What was it that made you make that leap to say, I'm doing it anyways?
Well, this is like a dream that I've had since I was 17 and I'm now 24. So I've had it for 7 years. If I'm not willing to sacrifice something to make this happen, then I just don't really want it. I knew that I would regret potentially for the rest of my life not taking that moment. Like if I did not do this now, the thought of going, I had the chance, I had the opportunity, I had everything I needed to say yes. And not because of a lack of willingness, but just because of a lack of courage, that was the reason why I didn't do this. I was like, absolutely not.
What would you say to someone who's kind of going through that same thing where they want to fulfill their dream, but they also don't want to sacrifice or go through the pain of trying to achieve it?
Me doing what I said I wanted to do basically proved to myself in a sense, oh, I'm the type of person that can do this stuff. And had I not gone to Ecuador and done that, I would not have believed that I was the type of person who could do these things.
For the 24-year-old who's telling themselves right now, I'll do it later, or someday I'll do it, what would you tell them?
What is the smallest goal you can make that puts you one step in that direction? Even if it's not the full business, even if it's not the full book, even if it's not the trip you want to do, it's what is the baby version of that thing? And that's the beautiful thing about testing the baby version. So maybe you go out and you get that client and you go, kind of hate this business. And what a great thing to know day one. You can then try the next thing.
How do you overcome the negative self-talk?
If I don't watch crime shows, do I become less scared? So that's the thing, is guarding what goes into my eyes and into my ears. And then also making sure that I'm putting positive input in. You want to be investing in your mindset at least for 15 minutes every single day.
What is that relationship audit? What does that process look like?
So relationship audit essentially is a systematic way of looking at what are all the relationships that I interact with at least one time per month. And then I will just write the names of the people that I run into. And then you ask yourself, does this person help me grow or become more of who I want to become in one of those 5 areas? Faith, foundation, finances, relationships, and health.
What did changing your environment do for you in you accomplishing your dreams?
I think the first time that I changed my environment was actually moving up here to Sacramento. I grew up in the traffic capital of the world, aka LA. And so for me, coming up here was also the first time where I started to become a better drummer. I actually started to get to play drums in front of people and get better at that skill. If being around people who are doing something like what you would want to be doing and are better at it than you, it's 2 things. It can be frustrating because you're going, gosh, they're so much better than me. And at the same time, it's really inspiring. I think it's Jesse Itzler said, comparison can be the thief of joy. It can also be the seed of possibility. And I love that.
That concept of talent stacking, what does that look like? What does that mean? How did they actually execute that?
What specifically, if I get better at, will make all the rest of my life better, regardless of what I do. And I honed in on, if I get better at enthusiasm and storytelling, those 2 skills actually make everything else better. There are people that I can think of right now that when they walk in the room, I'm like, oh, we're going to have a great time.
Has there ever been a situation that shook your confidence to the core? You're like, dang, I really don't think I can do this?
Yeah, 9 months into my detailing business, I had this realization, which was I'm pretty good with people, pretty bad at actually detailing. Just really problematic. And I went, frick, like this is a real problem. And at any new venture kind of goes through this cycle where it's like a valley that goes down and then goes back up, which is there's uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair, and then informed optimism, and then success eventually. But I was in this valley of despair being like, I'm really bad at this thing and I kind of need to be good at it. Like this is my full-time work now. And then when people would tell me that I had missed something, I would go, it wasn't I missed something. It was I was a failure.
For the entrepreneur, the person who has their goals, their dreams, that feels like a failure, what advice would you give them?
One is having the right people around you, like people that you can be honest with. For me, having other business owners that know what it's like to have the problems that I have, that has been a huge thing. And here's what most people miss. We don't attach the same level of positive emotion to the things that we do well as the things that we don't do well. At least if you're like me, most of our relationships are with other humans that are also imperfect, that are doing the best they can. And so when I can say, here are the good things about my friends, here are the good things that I really appreciate about my family, and consciously bring those things to mind, like that gets me out of that mental funk of being like, I feel like a failure, and going, okay, maybe these things did not work out how I wanted them to, and maybe I'm doing better than I thought I was.
Where it says that clarity is a myth. You move first and then clarity follows. So what did you mean by that?
Steve Jobs has a quote, which is, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And I think there's a fear to commit to the wrong thing that then causes many young men to not actually ever develop anything because of fear of trying the wrong thing, not realizing that doing something and doing it well, that will get the attention of people that may then open the door to the next thing.
What does courage mean to you?
It's in a lot of ways going, my story matters, which I think the lie that I believed for a lot of years was that my story isn't interesting. And so I would never share it, really out of a fear of going, it doesn't matter anyway. Why would I share it?
Is there anything in the book that we didn't cover that you want to highlight?
I would say the one other piece would be the human problem, the chapter on that. It's not just doing interesting things. It's about sharing them with people. And that is the part of why that phrase, people over everything, is there. Because if I have really cool things, or I get to have amazing experiences without people, they're just less valuable.
For the audience, is there one final message or a piece of advice that you'd like to share?
It's not easy now, and it's never going to be easier. And your dreams sometimes do have a window, and that window is not forever. So my encouragement would be, just start.
Where can people find your content, and where can they find the book?
Yeah, so if you go to juststartbook.com, that's actually where my newsletter lives. And then if you go on Amazon, it's Just Start. I also have a YouTube channel that I'm putting stuff out at least once a week. And then I have a podcast through Spotify that is called Dreaming Great Dreams. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Daniel Baarns. The last name is spelled funny, Baarns.
Awesome. We'll get it in the description below. We'll get it in the pop-ups on the screen. For the audio listeners, just drill into the description so you can click to the links to quickly find the content. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure sitting down and getting to know you a little bit more and getting to understand your journey of just starting. So thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this. This was super fun, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, for the audience, the tragedy isn't failing. The tragedy is spending your entire life wondering who you could have become if you had just started. So thank you for watching this episode of the Keyconceptspodcast. We'll catch you on the next one.